I saw your comment earlier, Rob. I don't know if we'll be able to get to that today. We've got a very full agenda. We talk about grouping a lot, and so no, Eric, you'll have to post it in the group. Just post it in the group so we can see it. That way it's functioning. Okay, emailing it to us isn't going to help. If it is a GIF, it will function, and we need to see it play so we can figure out what's going on. Okay. All right. Anybody else? We have a nice crowd today. We have a very full agenda. Yes, always. The replays are always available, Paula. They are typically posted by Tuesday of the following week. There's a couple of reasons for that. We try really hard to make sure that we get them out as early as possible, but we let Rose build the agenda from the finished piece rather than the beginning. That way, everything that she does a great job of being able to go through that video and create the agenda. That way, you know what minute to go to if there's a specific thing that you want to address. She does a wonderful job of that. Frequently, you will see it posted on YouTube if you have subscribed to the YouTube channel, and you will see it there. If you are subscribed there, I post it there first, and then that way Rose gets a chance to take care of it. Okay, so some basics for the webinar today. We're going to cover both USign and GIFsign as we typically do. We may mention logo sign as we go, and there's some other things that are coming up in the future that we'll talk about those as well. Support questions have to go to support. Make sure that you do use support properly, though. Has to be an actual problem that you're having, not something that, you know, how do I make money selling t-shirts? It's not a good support question. That's a different kind of question, okay? But make sure that your support questions go to support, and your questions are important, but they need to relate to today's topic, as I mentioned to Rob a minute ago, who wanted to make sure that we covered this. We've got a full agenda today. We'll do our best to try to cover that, but you will notice that grouping is covered a lot. Okay, we talk about grouping frequently, but if you're having trouble with that, we'll do our best to try to get that in at the end of the agenda today. All right. The replays are available in support. Please be patient. It usually takes up until Tuesday. Sometimes Rose has gotten them up earlier. She's started posting them in the group when she does. Gloria has given you a document, and she just posted the link for that just a minute ago, and it has the typical questions that I've just answered a number of those typical questions already. So make sure that you look at that document, and we will give you a new one when we upgrade the document each time. Okay. Now, a little bit of news from the community. Again, we've had, and I'm going to say this just one time. There is, make sure that you read the rules for the groups, because there's been an awful lot of activity going on in the groups that is not visible. No, Mary, we're not going to post the agenda first. We just don't do that. And I covered the agenda right now. So you'll take the first 5 minutes and we're going to cover the agenda. But make sure you read the rules. And quite frequently, we see people post a question on top of a question that was just answered. So make sure that you go through there, scroll through, take a moment, and be patient, okay? And look carefully at the things that are being posted. Now, having said that, I want to tell you a little story, and this story is going to be important. If you'll notice the cover here today, that is actually the Von Braun Observatory that sits up on the mountain. That's the Von Braun Observatory that sits up on top of the mountain. And for those of you who didn't know, Huntsville was the place where we did the great space race to the moon. And that is Wernher von Braun. Every morning when I open up my window, I see the Von Braun Center. I see this from a far distance. But I want to tell you a little bit about inspiration this morning. Here's what happened. Von Braun was trying to get the lunar landing module designed, and he's trying to get a bunch of guys, engineers with crew cuts, pocket protectors, and slide rules to figure out how to make this thing, and they weren't getting it right. So as the story goes, he invited them up to the top of the mountain and for a barbecue. and they fixed, brought sort of beer, got out of their office, got out of their stuffy environment with their pocket protectors and their slide rules, went up on a mountain and knocked it out over the weekend. Because they changed their environment, they changed their attitude, they changed their mentality to, okay, let's relax. Let's just kind of relax. And so I don't know how true the story is, but every morning when I open up my my window, it reminds me of, oh, cool. Cool, Mike. Thank you for mentioning that. Mike says he worked on the lunar module. I don't know how true the story is, and I always preface it by saying that, but it reminds me, hey, creativity is supposed to be fun. And so I just say that on the heels of reminding people, let's play by the rules inside the group. And having said that, now let's go to the next thing. Let's push your limits. Push the limits of the existing features. Don't try to figure out, oh, this doesn't work or that. See how far you can take it. Work on it as hard as you can. Take it as far as you can go with that. Push your limits out. Make them as important as they can possibly, make them as beneficial as they can possibly be. And then the next thing is, and I just wanted to remind you of that. That's in the logo design group. The 5 rules or 6 rules I set for myself when I'm trying to do a beta test on something. So the next thing is this came up, and I want to make sure that y'all understand this. What we work from in Usedesign is typically we work from the aspect ratio, and so there has been a change take place. I just saw today on one of my groups. There was a change in the image that's the cover image on Facebook, and what John did was he went back and took the aspect ratio and changed the dimensions. So you'll see that it may be larger than it appears, but it is the correct aspect ratio. We ran into that with LinkedIn. LinkedIn moved to aspect ratio, so we started getting images cropped from that. We adjusted that, took the aspect ratio, pushed the borders out as far as we could, and we always try to use the aspect ratio, which is what we did here. And that's the reason why you'll see it at a much larger size than you may find. I did a search in Facebook and tried to find the dimensions for that. They haven't even posted that yet. So, but we'll get the sizes have been adjusted, and you shouldn't have any trouble with that whatsoever. But remember, anytime you see a difference, think about maybe that's the aspect ratio, and that's the thing that we need to take into consideration. Okay? Are there any questions about that? The aspect ratio is really important. And the reason why we work from the aspect ratio, as Gloria just mentioned, is to make them retina compatible. They work better on a mobile phone. Okay, we're designing on a desktop or a laptop, and then most of it's going to the mobile phone. I actually have some groups that 98% of what gets opened on a mobile phone. So just keep that in mind, and so that aspect ratio becomes important. The next thing is that we got some new announcements coming up. This monogram piece is going to be awesome. In logo design, you'll have this monogram, 576 combinations in the monogram. I just think that's going to be awesome when that hits the street. Okay, this just reminds me the team is just awesome, and Obed, who does this, is just an incredible designer. And Bruno, you'll have to wait until it is open again. It is not open right now. It will open up soon, but just be patient. You can get on a list. If you go to the logo design group, you can get on a list and get access to that, okay? And then the next thing is that we have a Instagram channel that is out. And so that Instagram channel is a good place to be able to see some of the behind the scenes, okay? And the behind the scenes are really kind of cool, okay? So check that out. Go to the Instagram channel. It is posted in the groups, particularly in the Usedesigners group. So do that, and I think you'll find that pretty cool. All right, I went there this morning, checked out some things. I thought it was kind of neat, okay? The next thing is just for your information, anytime that you have a question, make sure that you search the group. And there's a little search box over on, if you're not on a mobile device, there's a little search box over on the side. And that search box will allow you to be able to put in a name, like this was Rose, or you can put in a name there, or you can put in a question, you know, about downloads or whatever happens to come up. And you can search the group before you post. And somebody says, oh, that's been posted 6 times. Probably a good idea to check that out. Okay. Which brings me to a new word. We're going to have a new word today. And the new word today, I have a new word for you. Gene, if you're on, you're going to like my new word. I'm going to call it Clickology. Okay? Clickology. What would happen if I clicked here? And where that came up from was I kept noticing these questions, and it was like, okay, just click one more time and you've got the answer. And so I'm going to call it Clickology. And what are you going to discover when you just keep clicking? And so our new word for today is the word Clickology. And it's really important for you to just keep clicking. You may find the answer to your question is with the next mouse click. Okay? So I'm going to talk about importing images. That's going to be part of the agenda today. And we're going to cover this because this seems to be creating some issues. And so I'm going to cover importing images. I put this in the group the other day, and for some reason, I'm not sure that people understand that. Okay, so the next one is on downloads. And when you have available, Paula, we're going to get to that in just a second because I'm going to address that right now. When we release these beta versions, like the Logosign is, one of the things to watch for is to watch for this box that comes up with the .png behind it. Make sure that you don't just type the whole name in here. It's just one of the things we have to do in that beta version, so just keep that in mind. And I've posted that in the group, and it answers several people's questions, okay? The next thing over here is that the new version of Logosign has numerous different download formats. And so make sure that, you know, they always look to, again, this is another, just click the download. Don't look at the image there, just click the download and see what you can do. Always just click one more time and see what happens. You download an image, click on it and see what it looks like. Always just keep clicking. Clickology, you may be surprised what you learn when you do that. And Paula, one of the things that we're working on is the SVG thing. We have in the desktop version, which is not, it will be available sometime very, very soon. I don't get the information, neither does Gloria, so we can't answer the when question. We just can't do that. But we can tell you that we've gone through this and we're seeing some really cool stuff with it, and it will have the ability to be able to import SVG. I'm just trying to find out what else comes after that. I don't know yet. I know that that's an issue that we're very much trying to address. All right. And that's everything I know. I don't know anything else. And so I do my best to give you the information as it's made available to me. And I can't answer the question if you ask it once or if you ask it 75 times. It doesn't change things. It's going to be, we just don't know when that's going to come out. All right. It isn't always as easy as it sounds. All right. Yeah, I didn't even have a way to screen capture that, Gloria. There is your image is not being in Logosign, and I don't want to get into that, but if you have a question about that, now let's move on. All right, community poll today. Are you currently using a fulfillment company to do prints? And by prints, I'm talking about t-shirts, mugs, posters, anything like that. Are you currently doing that? So if you are, put yes or 1. If you're not, put no. If you would like to, but you don't know how, put something down so we can see that, okay? All right, cool. It looks like, for the most part, most people either would like to, or either are or would like to. Okay. We are not here to talk about other people's software, only to talk about ours. Okay. All right. And I'm going to address that issue just a tiny bit here. Okay. In a fulfillment company, and it's frequently referred to as print on demand. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of how this works so y'all will understand what you have. The problem is sometimes people don't understand what they have, so they get confused. All right. This is a fulfillment company called PrintOnDemand. And I'm going to show you what happens here in this on this. I'm going to cover this quickly. All right. The poll question was, do you use a fulfillment company? And here we go. This is going to be, I'm going to give you the skinny on using a fulfillment company and how your print designs work with that. Okay. So this company will only allow you to upload a PNG file or a JPEG file. All right. PNG or JPEG, that's it. That's all you get. And so all of the other things that people are talking about, you can download this and you can download that and it'll make this kind of file and it'll make that kind of file. These are the only two things. If you're going to do prints, these are the only two things that you can upload. All right. And Mary, please only ask the question one time. We will address the question, but only ask it one time. It makes it difficult for everybody else to be able to follow through, okay? So you can only upload a PNG file or a JPEG file, preferably a PNG file because it has a transparent background, okay? So I've uploaded this PNG file right here to this shirt right here. I created this today in the t-shirt design in InUse. So I created the design. I'm going to show you how I did that in just a little bit. I created this design. Actually, I didn't create it. It's a template. But I took this design from the t-shirt design and I loaded it into the fulfillment company. That's always the process that happens. You take the raw design on a transparent background, you load it into the fulfillment company, then it mocks it up on top of this shirt, which I have downloaded the mock-up and put over here in the corner. But that's the process with every single fulfillment company, regardless of whose that they are. They always take your raw file, you upload the raw file, not your mock-up files, but your raw file with the transparent background as a PNG file, and you load that into the mock-up design. I don't care whose fulfillment company it is. It doesn't make any difference whether it's Amazon or PrintOnDemand or if it's Printful or if it's Vistaprint. And I'm going to show you 3 of those today. This one is done by Vistaprint, and I uploaded the proof here, and it shows me what that proof looks like. And I could view my proof. So that I took this this logo right here and I loaded it up to Vistaprint and I viewed the proof. So it shows me what my proof looks like here. Shows me what the proof looks like right here. And then I wanted to see what the full size of the proof. And by the way, that proof was bigger than my computer screen. So this is in Vistaprint. If you're going to use a print in Vistaprint, if you're going to print a shirt or a bag or whatever, you load up a PNG file. And this is taken directly from LogoZine. Directly from LogoZine. I just uploaded this file. You've seen me use this a lot. I'm doing this on purpose so I can show you the variety of places where you can see that at. This is a t-shirt design. And it's also a coffee cup design. Exactly the same file. Keep this in mind. Exactly the same file. Exactly the same size file. You'll see it right here. 1880 by 1420, exactly that file size, and I put it on this coffee cup or put it on this t-shirt. All right. Are there any questions? Yes, it's the same file and it's the same scale. I want everybody to understand that. I'm loading one file into the MockUp company. I'm loading a single file. And that single file is being used regardless of the size of the background. We get hung up on the size of the file coming from Usign, and we want to make it this size or that size or whatever size. Just use the size. Just use the size that comes from, when we're using a t-shirt design, it's perfect for that. Use the t-shirt design, load that up, put it into the mock-up, and then you'll see what's going on, okay? Same file, exact same file. This is the file right here. It shows you what the size of the file is. I use it in the t-shirt design. I use it in the coffee cup design. Now I had to add these two things here so that you could see them, but it is exactly the same file regardless of the PrintOnDemand company, okay? Then Templatology. Questions come up about templates. We have a bunch of new templates now. Guess what their theme is? The theme is Christmas. If you want to see all of the Christmas files, just simply type Christmas in the search box up here, and you'll get the ones that were loaded this year, the ones that were loaded in years past. If you're a member of the template club, remember, you have to be a member of the template club. Now, importing images. Always set your canvas first. This is going to be a really important understanding here, okay? And this is going to be really important. Always set your canvas size first. Set your canvas size first, then upload the image. Usign will handle, it will take the, Mary, it is a Usign webinar, and I'm sorry that you're confused about that. The Usign, one of the purposes of Usign is to create prints. So I'm sorry that you're confused about that. And no, we're not going to ever post the agenda first. Okay, set the canvas size first. Always set your canvas size first. And once you set your canvas size, then you can bring your image in, and it will, and you can work it on your canvas size. Think about your output. Always think about the output. Last week I talked about beginning with the end in mind, and always think about your output. What am I trying to create with this? And then bring my image into what I'm trying to create. Because if I start out with the size of the image, then I'm gonna have to mess with it. And last week we talked about GIF sign, and one of the questions that came up was I'm having trouble with the GIF sign. Yeah, first of all, Rick, keep this in mind. I'll talk about this because I think this is important. All right. I'm a size 3X. And so that's a 3X shirt that I have that logo sitting on. And if I filled that up across the shirt, I look like a giant billboard walking down the street. So I don't want to, that's the reason why I don't do that. That was a 3X shirt that I had that mock up on. I meant to mention that. So thank you for asking. Yes, you can mess with that, and it will give you the limits. All right, it will tell you when you've stretched that image, and the image quality might start to degrade. All right, just keep that in mind. But again, click. Always just play with it. Figure out where you're gonna go with that. Okay. Eric, keep in mind, listen carefully to what I'm saying. The pixel dimensions and the DPI start with your t-shirt design. Always set your canvas size first. Start with your pixel design. And when I created this image here, I set that on, when I created, I'm sorry, this image here, I had a t-shirt design, all right? My screen set for t-shirt design. And I put my t-shirt design there. And I did that under prints, Teespring, and that gives me my print dimensions. I then took that same raw image and uploaded here. This is where people are getting lost. They're trying to create something with Usign instead of using it as the tool to create their end product. Always set your canvas size first, then upload the image. Always set your canvas size first, then upload your image, because when you do that, then it's easier to work with, okay? And then everything else works out fine. When people are having image degradation, what they're doing is they're taking a small image and trying to make it big. That's a good question, Rob. I'll get to that when I get to the canvas size, okay? Or when I get to the design canvas. And then finally, this question has come up about silhouettes. And silhouettes have been asked about for months. And I was stumped. I've got to figure out how to do this. I've got to figure out how to create a silhouette. I may have even misspelled it there. I've got to figure out how to create a silhouette. And so I took this dorky picture on Saturday. No, you don't start with a blank canvas. You start with a t-shirt design. And I'll show you where that's at in just a minute. So I started out with this really dorky design. Now, you have to remember, I did this goofy looking picture on purpose. First of all, because silhouettes are best if they're kind of a profile picture, because if you're looking at your face, all you get is an outline of your head. So I turned sideways so you could get the outline of my profile, but I had to put a hat on because my background was the same color as my hair. And that made it a little easier for me to do that, all right? So I'm eating lunch, and I'm thinking, I did the reverse image just on Friday. This is on Saturday. I should be able to make a silhouette. All you have to do is remove the background. You just have to remove the background. And I started out with a picture that was on a kind of a white gray colored background, which is kind of the same color as my hair. And I created the silhouette from that, okay? And so I'm going to go to the canvas in just a minute. I'm going to show you how I did that, all right? And I'll walk through that again, Rob, so maybe I'll answer your question there. And then I'll show you some tips and tricks, and we'll address any questions that we may have left straggling, okay? Yeah, I'll give you the steps in just a minute. I'm not sure exactly what your question is there, Paula, but we're going to get to, when we get to the design, I think you'll understand. When we get to the design canvas, I think you'll understand. So let me stop sharing my screen for a moment, start a new screen, and we'll take it from there, okay? So someone asked in the group, the other day about how could I show all of my designs and all the presets. Well, the easiest way to do that, you can screen capture this with GIF sign. Those are all presets. You can screen capture that, or you could screen capture and just scroll through it. Just scroll through your designs. Here's all my designs, all the stuff I've put in there. And let's see here. This is the one I began with earlier, all right? So when I pull this in, this will answer two questions. When I pull this in, what's going to happen? Right here, I'm now on a Teespring shirt design, all right? Let me show you where that's at, right here. Under prints, click right here, and it's right there, Teespring shirt. Okay, now it's a blank canvas. I think people think you're going to design this on a shirt. You're not. You're going to design it on a blank canvas. And so you start on a blank canvas. Now, I can do a mock-up over here, but understand this, and the question kept coming up, well, I want to be able to do a mock-up of a custom design. The mock-ups required the presets. So in order to create a mock-up, I have to have it on something that is mocked up. I've got to have a preset design. So this is my preset design is Teespring shirt. And this is my design right here. So I created this design, or I doctored this design, or I played with this design. So the earlier question was, how do I group these things together and deal with them when they're in a template? There's two ways to do this because they're layered, and I think that was where your problem was at. And I don't remember who asked the question, and I apologize for that. Okay, they are layered together. So this layer is on top of that layer right there. if I want to, and when you've got a complex layer, the best way to do that is to put your mouse in the corner over here, hold down on the left key, hold down on the shift key, and pull it over the top of that. That groups all of those pieces together, and now you have all of them, okay? Now I can move them around as a group. I can take them apart and remove elements. I can save them over here so that they're saved in a group. I can pull them back in and use them for something else, okay? So I think that in part answers your question. It may be slightly more complex than that, but that's the important part. You can do that by doing the left mouse click and drag and pull across your canvas. All right? Does that help answer that question? How do I save the group? It's really very simple. The way I save the group is I pull this down here like this, and now this little box pulls up right here. Click on that little box, and then the save icon is right here. Save the group, and now you'll notice that group appears right over here. So that's how you do that. All right? Any other questions while we're here? Now, you see, this is the image that I had right here that I took over here and created this shirt with. All right? Now, this particular mock-up company, if this box is green, it likes the image. It likes the image quality. That's all I have to worry about. I don't have to worry about anything else. I don't have to worry about DPI. I don't have to worry about, I just want to make sure that the image works. We fret over things that we shouldn't fret over. Remember my illustration about the beer and the bratwurst and the guys with the crew cuts and the pocket protectors. Just remember that. It'll help you a lot. If this is green, I'm good to go. And that's all I really need to understand. That particular, this design's not that size. This design's not that size. Susanna, that's a good question. It's not as necessary, but it's a good question. The actual size of this is, and I'll show you what it is. Anytime you want to figure out what your size is, here's what you do. Click right here, because see, these are preset, so they're locked. Click right here, and now I know exactly what size that is. It's 1941 by 3000. So I can actually make this image larger if I wanted to do that. Okay. And I can squeeze this in here just a little bit more. But when I output this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up in here. And when I put it up in here, I can actually adjust this size and watch for the green to change up here. I can pull this down here and it's still green. So that's all I really need to worry about. I don't need to worry about what size is my image. I just need to make sure that I'm still in a good print quality, because they're not going to print something you're not going to be happy with. Just keep that in mind. All right, any other questions about how you're going to use your designs here from Usign? Now, you might pull in a logo from LogoZine. All right, again, this is a big canvas. Switch this back to where it was at. For output purposes, I'm going to switch this back over here. And I have a logo that I created from LogoZine. Now, it's going to pull that in. Remember, I'm setting my canvas for the size that I want my output to be. I'm beginning with the end in mind, and I tell you that all the time. Always start with the end in mind. So over here, I've got an 800 by 800. Over here, I had a 1941 by 3000. Over here, I got an 800 by 800. Now, if I pull that same logo in, it fills the canvas, and I can adjust the size of it. This is something that we need to remember. Always start with the end in mind. If I start with the end in mind, then I don't have any issues. All right, any questions so far? Do you understand what we're doing here? Set your canvas size first, then upload your image. When you do that, the image will fit and it'll be easy to deal with. If I start with the size of the image, then I've got to monkey around with it. Any questions? Wow, it got quiet all of a sudden. All right, then what we're going to do is I'm going to remove these elements so that I can do something else. I'm going to grab this picture. Sorry, I'm going to grab this picture that I had earlier. All right, that's it. Horrible looking picture. I want you to understand that. I'm going to erase the background. I'm not going to erase. I'm going to go to the background erase tool, but I'm not going to erase the background. And this time, what I'm going to do, no, we have mockups inside of Usein, Rick, but the mockups are, keep this in mind, the mockup is worthless. You want the mockup, unless I'm doing it for advertising purposes or something like that. Mary, it's really simple. You just you put your mouse pointer in one corner, hold down your left shift key, your left mouse key, and hold down the shift key and drag across the image. Okay. So this is my really goofy picture. What I'm going to do now is I want to remove, instead of the background, I'm going to remove I'm going to save the background, and I'm going to remove the image. We're not used to doing that, so it's a little backwards, but it's fairly easy to do. Okay, so with that, I should have got a little bit tighter in here. Change my brush size. Now, what I have there essentially is a silhouette. Right there, okay? Now, I download that. There's 2 steps involved. Yes, Terry, it really did. Once I figured it out, it's like, good grief, why did this take me so long to get my head wrapped around? All right. It really did. Now, I don't know why it took me so long to think of it. I don't know why I didn't think of it last week when I was showing it to you. Okay. It just really amazed me. There was a question about the mockups. All right. So I'm going to go back over here to the mockups while that's loading on the MockUp tool. This is really, if I'm going to put this in my store, this is what I want to put in the store. But if I'm over here and I have created a t-shirt, I can quickly throw this out here like this and take a look at this, see how that's going to look. I might want to look at how's this going to look on different colors. Okay. Before I make some modifications, what's going to happen to this green screen right here, or this green part of the image right here? How's that going to look on these things? And so I get a good chance to take a look at that. But the real design this looks different here than it does over here. The real design is when I put it on the shirt itself. That's the true blue design. All right. It's using the presets, as Gloria said. She gave you a whole list of presets right there. It's using the presets, and those presets are going to help you to They're going to help you to place this, to figure out where it's supposed to fit and how's it going to look and all of that. But until you put it in the tool itself that's going to actually create the print, you don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Does that help answer your question, Rick? Okay, good. Because I don't want you to think that the mock-ups are worthless, because they're not. But you've got to understand that they're limited, because you're now using that image goes to a company that's going to take the image and put it on a shirt or a mug or a poster or a bag. And so you want to make sure that you have that you're using the mock-up created by the company that's going to do the print, rather than our presets. Now, there's some places where the presets are really, really cool. And I'll show you that there's, if I were to put this, if we were to do a Facebook ad or something like that, that preset looks amazing. All right. Then you're going to be able to take that directly to a client and go, this is what's going to look like. But when you're going to print out a print on demand, remember there's a third party that's involved here. And so I want to make sure that I'm using the third party's rules to make that make sense. Yeah, that way you know if the colors are compatible and all that kind of stuff. Okay, let's see if this is loaded. This has been, we've had a little loading issue here, particularly when it's coming from and keep this in mind. Sometimes these are not really design issues. This is there's a third party that's removing the background, and I'm having major computer issues this morning. All right. Yes, you could do all kinds of cool stuff with that. Now we're seeing what's happening over here. Now you're starting to get the picture. That is so cool, Susan. We could easily fill that with other things. You've seen me take no fills and fill the no fills. Yes, you could do all kinds of cool stuff with that. I happen to throw it on a black background. All right. I happen to put that on a black background simply because it was easier to deal with. Let me stop this from happening here, and we'll load it up again. I'll grab my image from the upload. I run 2 computers for the webinars, and it taxes me pretty severely. So now I've got this. This is the silhouette. This is in a JPEG image. All right. I took a JPEG image. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the background. And by removing the background, I now have a silhouette. Now, the way I put that silhouette on that cool background was, I'll go up here and I'll change my preset to, and that was a Facebook image, Facebook medium. I took the silhouette itself. What did I do with the silhouette? I was pretty sure I had saved it. Apparently I had not saved it. So I'll go over here and I'll find it. Give me just a second while I find the silhouette. It may take me just a minute. And naturally, I've deleted that file. So I apologize for that. I will show you what it was, though. What I did was I took the silhouetted image, which you can take any. I've got several silhouette images here. You can take a silhouetted image, just like this. And I couldn't stand this cool, you know, so I did what I did. But you understand. My computer's trying to lock up. and I took this image background right here. Took a textured image. Which is that textured image right there. And that was it. And that's how I created that. Okay? Any questions about all of that? Paula, if you had any idea how many thousands of images I create to do these webinars, and I mean that literally. I had a file that had just thousands of images in it. I just started deleting them because it was too much. It was just too much. But do you see how you can create those? Look over here at my uploads, and you can see how I created that image right here. Created a silhouette. Fairly simple, fairly easy to do. And there you go. All right, and Susan just drastically expanded our horizons by saying now you could take that silhouette image or you could take the removed image by removing the background, by saving the background, removing the image, and fill this with all kinds of cool stuff. And you could certainly do that and have zero issues today. All right. Silhouettes look great on t-shirts. They really do. All right, anything else? Let's see. No, you have to, this textured background here was already, that design was already created. There are some things that you can do with that. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. One of the things that you can do is you can apply filters to it, and the filters will change it slightly. And I think sometimes we forget the power of those filters, but you can make that go from the original design here to something that looks a little more pale or a little more stormy. I mean, there's lots of cool things you can do with that. Just use the filters. See, Rob, this is what happens when you stop, you pause, you think there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. I've told y'all several times, I'm just a problem solver. That's all I am. I'm kind of a hack as a designer, but I'm a problem solver. And no, there's no trick to change it to a vector image. That's a completely different format. But keep in mind, we're working on that project, okay? But this is what happens when you approach this as a problem to be solved, not a piece of software to fuss over. It's like the guys with the slide rules and the crew cuts. Just keep that in mind. I think about that every single morning when I open up my window and I look outside. I'm reminded, hey, this is supposed to be fun. This is a problem to be solved. Let's get creative about it. And there's some really, really cool things that you can do with that. Pete, I completely agree with you. As soon as I did that, honestly, my brain started to hurt. I was like, oh, there's too many cool things we can do here. Just too many cool things that can happen. And so, and yes, there are. And I think that this is, so let me back up to the agenda. And on the agenda, I said, I was so challenged by that question, is there a way to make silhouettes, that I couldn't get over it. I thought, I've got to figure this out. And for some reason, where that came from was somebody wanted to outline an image, and I thought, well, all you have to do is cut the image out and make a colored background. And well, wait a minute, that would be a great tool for creating a silhouette. And I called it the reverse background. So yes, that Clickology, Susan. Clickology. I wonder what would happen if I clicked on this. I wonder what would happen if I did this. And that's the reason why I introduced the new word Clickology, because I think there's some really cool stuff that you can do. Now, Pete, you were the one who inspired me to do the silhouettes to begin with. So thank you for that. That was really good. All right. Any other questions? I think I've addressed most of what people had asked earlier. I don't want to forget that. I thought we were going to go through, I thought we would be tight today, but we're not really as tight as I thought we would be. Because I thought that we would generate some questions that y'all might have. Hopefully I've addressed that print on demand thing by helping you to keep in mind the fact that I want to go to my print company. I want to see what this is going to look like on the end. Okay. I want to see the end result. And so I'm going to create a design in the appropriate canvas. I'm going to create the design. And by the way, if I'm going to create a design, I'm going to put it on a coffee cup. I'm probably going to use my t-shirt tool to do that with. Okay? Because it creates a big image, and you saw how I had taken that same image earlier, and I had put it on the coffee cup and on the t-shirt. Same image, same size, everything. So if you'll use the full size images in the t-shirt design, you'll be happy. Now, what happens is that you'll run into a company that'll say, like Amazon Merch does, and that question came up. Well, they use a 5400 by 4500. Well, by the way, if you tried to put that on a t-shirt, you really would look like a billboard, because I'm a big guy, and I couldn't. That would be too big for me. That's a 15-inch wide by 18-inch tall. And that's a giant image, but they're doing that to try to help you to get an image quality that's good enough to be able to use. But here's the thing to do: load it into their MockUp tool and find out. Click, just keep clicking, and it's amazing what happens. Let's see. Could I fill a silhouette with a photo, please? Let's see. Maybe I've got one over here I could do that with. Hold on just a second. I think I had. Let's see if I saved this or not. I don't even know if I saved it, because I don't have the time to go back and undo it. But yes, it would be really, really easy. I took this guy's image right here. This was from last week. I took that guy's image. Let me see if it's available here. I don't know if I still have it or not. I took his image. I maybe didn't save that. I did not save it, but I took his image, and what you would do is take that. I removed the background, so I can talk you through this. Okay, will that help, Suzanne? I took this image, and instead of I would save the outline, then I could take. I would save the. I would cut this out so this was transparent. All right, leave the outline. Cut out the silhouette so it's transparent. Leave the outline. Then what I would do is I would put this on the canvas with the image that I wanted in the background, the picture that I wanted in the background. I'd put that picture here, and I would make it the background. So this is overlaid over the top of it. I would save that. Save it as a JPEG or a PNG file, doesn't make any difference. Then I would load up my background erase tool, and I would erase the background, and all you would have would be a picture in a silhouette fashion. Does that make sense? I'd like to be able to do that. It's just going to be I've got it's probably 12 minutes or so to do that, and I'm really tapped on my resources on my. This is when people try to compare products, there is no comparison to what you can do with Usign and the background erase tool. Just keep that in mind. There's the background erase tool in Usign is phenomenal. All right, and it can give you some exceptional results. All right, hopefully that made sense. But this for me, this expanded a huge pool of opportunity of being able to do some really, really cool stuff. And I was pretty excited about it when I saw it. Okay, let me look at one thing here quickly. I have Google Fiber, which is amazing. I have amazing speeds with my computer, but in my office, I'm a little bit distance away from it, so it slows down a little bit. I open up a second computer and it really starts to tap the resources on it. So let me see if I saved that image. I did not. I was just curious if I had saved the image. And I did not save the image that I posted in the group. Okay, keep in mind, Rick, it's not what they require. Just keep that in mind. They're not asking you to create an image that size. You will never know what you can do until you load the image. All right? Yeah, you see this all the time, and lots of print companies will say that. What that is, that's their maximum size. All right, it's maximum size. I don't need an image 45 by 5,000 in order to do a coffee cup. But if I'm a print company, that's what I'm going to put on my literature. That's what I'm going to put on my website. And the reason is because if I'm going to make a poster, I want to have it that size, and I don't want people submitting something the size of a coffee cup and expecting to be able to create a poster out of it. So just keep that in mind. That's the best way, remember, it's Clickology. The best way to find out is to load the image into their mock-up design and see what you can do with it. And I showed you that over here. As long as this is green, I'm good to go. And that's what the way this company works. This one works a little different than that. This one works a little different than that. It will alert you. I could go through all of those, but I'm not going to load all of those up. I just want you to understand that that's how you find out, okay? All right, any other questions before we sign off here? Terry, congratulations for fixing that image. I've had to do that a couple of times. Probably get asked to remove the background more than anything else that we get asked to do. All right. I'm really sorry if anybody misunderstood why we did the print on demand, but print is a huge piece of what we do with Usein. All right. It is a huge piece of the puzzle. And I just think it's important that we understand the very question that Rick's asking. Well, it says you have to have a 45. It doesn't say you have to have that. It says it requires that. And that's to allow it to be able to print the largest image that they have. The best way to find out is to put it in their MockUp tool and find out. That helps you to be happy with what you have, okay? Pushes the limits of what you've got. Paula, that varies a lot depending upon where you're at. I appreciate the question, but you know, that's what I coach people to do, and this is kind of my free coaching Friday, so you get some of that. Yes, I mentioned 3 companies. I mentioned PrintOra, and there's a whole bunch of them. I used to have a list, and I think I had 175 companies on that list. Yeah, I use Printful. That's the company that I use, but not anything you can do about that in Usein, Eric. When you click on when you click on anything inside of your canvas, when you click on any element inside the canvas, the right-hand menu opens up, Mary. All right, with that, we're going to be done. Thank you so much for joining us this Friday. We'll be back here next Friday, same time, same place, as usual. Okay, and in the meantime, y'all have a great weekend and enjoy your weekend. I look forward to seeing the things that you design. Be sure to post them in our group. All right, thank you so much for joining us today.